Welcome to Library Out Loud, a conversation about any and all things related to the Spokane County Library District. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and our friends at STCU. Now, here's your host, Jane Baker.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District, and we're here today to talk about an awesome program coming up this winter at our libraries, in fact, all 11 libraries. Let me introduce you to Brad Keeler and Linda Parman. Brad and Linda, welcome. You've been on the show before, and thank you again for coming back, and we're going to get to some music and some of the great things that you guys know about and showcase your talents a little bit.
Great to be here again.
Great. So for anybody tuning in new that hasn't maybe missed the last program that you were on, let's reintroduce yourselves to everyone. Your local musicians. Brad, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been performing with guitar and other stringed instruments for about 40 years now. I have an interest in what today we might call roots music, which is a big overarching description of various types of music which are influential still today, including, of course, we're dealing with folk music for our library shows coming up starting in February through May.
Yes.
They're stretched out for over a couple of months.
Yes. At all 11 libraries. We'll get to the dates and times on that soon. Linda, a little introduction on yourself.
Okay. Well, I picked up the guitar about 50 years ago while I was a music student at university, and at that time the guitar was not a part of the curriculum. So, and at the same time, folk music was very popular, and so my extracurricular activities involved playing the guitar and being in folk music bands and things like that. So I've been doing this kind of music for 50-some years.
Wow.
And I enjoy a lot of different varieties of that. I like the old-timey folk music. I like swing, jazz, blues, just about anything that's, of the folk variety.
That's great. And then you two met playing in a band together, if I recall correctly.
Right.
And then you've done that for quite some time. Do you still do that, or do you just play together as a duet?
We have been working as a duo. This is our 5th project for the Spokane County Library District.
We love you guys. We love to have you back a lot.
we enjoy it a lot.
Great.
And then we also have been playing together in my Brad Keeler trio and some other units that we've put together for different occasions. So we still perform together on a semi-regular basis.
That's great. Yes, we love to have you at the library, and our customers love to come in and listen to you, and that's why we keep asking you to come back. So let's get into talking a little bit about the folk music that you're talking about, the programs that are starting in February and running through May. The title of the program is The Great Folk Scare, American Folk Music Revival, 1958 to 65. Now, I have to admit, I'm not super familiar with a lot of folk music. Before, when we were setting up for today, I heard you mention the Kingston Trio, and I thought, I know that name. But from listening to the context of your discussion, that might not be the kind of music we're talking about.
Well, actually, it is. It is. We're going to be playing the famous song "Tom Dooley" that was recorded by the Kingston Trio, and was a big selling record in 1958.
Yes.
And helped to popularize with the non-folk audience, helped to popularize folk music, which was, the revival. I'm using this framework of 1958 to 1965. But the interest in folk music really spans back to the early 20th century in the United States, at least, in other places as well. But I'm using 58 through 65 as a format, and part of the focus being the Newport Folk Festival, which was an important venue important event in exposing audiences to rediscovered performers and a new generation, and that would include people like Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, and many others, of course. So the folk revival movement in the late 50s and the early 60s had kind of two components to it, where there was the rediscovery of artists whose styles and their careers had ended, maybe even during the Depression era or something like that. And then this newer generation that was coming along, which would have been represented by people like Bob Dylan or Joan Baez or Tom Paxton, people like that.
Okay. So the program says, the description of the program says that the folk singers and songwriters of the late 50s and 60s who rediscovered artisan songs from the 1920s and 30s and then reintroduced them to a national audience.
And also added their own voices to the mix. So
Gotcha.
these people were writing songs that had a foot in tradition. And the rediscovery part is particularly interesting to me. Certain artists who had recorded, let's say, in the 1920s, 30s, or the very early 1940s, such as Mississippi John Hurt and another blues artist named Son House, who abandoned their careers in music, which is kind of a stretch anyway, because these were not big stars. But they had recorded, and people that collected old music, let's say the old 78 RPM records, would have copies of songs by Mississippi John Hurt or Son House, and there was a movement, including a movement of field recording, where people would take recording machines out and record rural people doing folk music. But there was also people that physically hunted down a missing link, like Son House or someone like that, who had quit playing music back in the 40s and was discovered in Rochester, New York State, in the mid-60s, and was brought back to be a performer again.
Wow.
Same with Mississippi John Hurt. He was living in Mississippi.
Wow. So an example of one of a song or that may have come from that era and then was reintroduced.
Well, using Mississippi John Hurt as an example, there's an old traditional folk blues song called "Lay Me Down a Pallet on Your Floor" or "Pallet on Your Floor," and it was one of the songs that he recorded back in the 20s. And it was a song that's actually been recorded by a wide variety of artists, but the interest in that particular song had more or less waned. As tastes change and music fads come and go, it's very easy for something to be forgotten. And if you have an interest in the roots of the music and where it comes from, who performed it, etc., it's like an incentive. Is this man still alive? And he was just like a sharecropper in Mississippi.
Wow.
And so some folk enthusiasts tracked him down and encouraged him to come up north and play at events like the Newport Folk Festival and many other events that were springing up all around the country at that time.
So where the people who invited him to come, were they also musicians who were playing his music as well, and he joined them, or did they bring him back as a solo artist?
Well, he would have been brought back as a solo artist, but the people that hunted him down were also musicians themselves, or musicologists, people that study music, that study folk music and such. So he was encouraged to come back and perform, and performing for a whole new generation who were just being exposed to these older styles.
So when we call it the Great Folk Scare, what was the scare? What was it all about?
Well, it's a play on words, is what it is, and it was it's a phrase that was used at the time. But the origins of the phrase are obscure, as as is the case with a lot of folk revival material. But it's a reference to the Red Scare of the 1950s with Senator Joe McCarthy hunting around for Soviet agents that had infiltrated the United States and were in the entertainment industry and the music industry. Of course, the famous Pete Seeger was blacklisted at one time, due in large part due to Joe McCarthy. So that was one. There was like a political aspect to the folk scare, but there was also a simple kind of tongue-in-cheek aspect of some folkies who were maybe put off by the squeaky clean groups like the Kingston Trio or our own more local Chad Mitchell Trio. And then another aspect of it was in the late 50s, as a band like the Kingston Trio had a big hit with the song Tom Dooley. There was like the implied threat that folk music would take over the AM airwaves and displace people like Elvis and Chuck Berry, which of course wasn't about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So it's humorous.
So what were they afraid of?
Oh, just as fads come and go, if there's a type of music that you're not particularly interested in, and you turn on the radio and that's all you hear, it has potential to be slightly frightening.
Oh, yes. What's happening
So
to the
it's
world?
humorous.
Yes. Okay. That's great. So, so you're going to play some music for us before we go to break. That'd be great.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, as we were saying, some of the music was new music that was written and recorded by the newer generation of folk artists, including this song, "Can't Help But Wonder Where I'm Bound" by Tom Paxton. So we'll do this one. This is a good example of a modern revival piece. At our shows at the library, we're going to also be playing a lot of old music, too. We just happened to settle on this one for the podcast.
Great. This is Brad Keeler and Linda Parman. They're going to play us to break.
Well, it's a long and a winding road and a hot and a heavy load, and folks that you meet ain't always kind. Some are bad and some are good, some have done the best they could, some have tried to ease my worried mind. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. I can't help but wonder where I'm bound. I've been wandering through this land, trying to do the best I can, trying to find what it is that I'm supposed to do. And folks that I see look about as worried as me, and it looks like they're wondering too. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. I can't help but wonder where I'm bound. If you see me passing by and you stop and you wonder why, and you wish you were a rambler too, nail your shoes to the kitchen floor, lace them up and bar the door, thank your stars for the roof that's over you. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. I can't help but wonder where I'm bound.
Oh, that was fabulous. Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll be right back on Library Out Loud.
Hi, I'm Larry Myers, owner of River Ridge Hardware. Welcome to our garden center here on the corner of Garland and Driscoll. We have fresh plants that come in weekly from all of our local growers. We can make your garden look like our garden. Here at River Ridge, we've been here 30 years. We're your full-service neighborhood hardware store. This is our sprinkler aisle where my knowledgeable staff will help you put together your sprinkler system so it will make your yard lush green for the spring and summer. This is River Ridge Hardware's rental center where we provide a multitude of equipment for rent for the do-it-yourselfer. Next time you're working on your home or yard this spring and summer, stop by, say hi, and we'll help you get the project done.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Hello there, Internet. My name is Braden Magruder, and I'm just coming out of the Spokane Talks building, and I'm excited to bring to you guys a new announcement that I am going to be the new host of the Youth Spotlight program. Now, our old host, Colin, he's off to Texas Christian University to pursue a degree in theater and broadcasting, and you know what? That's great for him, but that's what I like to call adulting. And you know, I don't think that we have time for adulting with the Youth Spotlight program. What the Youth Spotlight program is here to do is to bring to you guys news, the greatest news of some of the most amazing people here throughout Spokane that are, just going in high school, maybe about to go into college, you know. These people are achieving life's dreams and they are so young. And I think that these are stories that you guys should know about. And I'm so excited to be bringing them to you. Now, I'm a Spokane native myself. I've been performing throughout Spokane in various different shows. I just closed the show of Music Man, and you know, I guess I like long walks on the beach, keeping my business attire, while also keeping my French fry socks on close at hand. You know, it's going to be a great year, and I'm so excited to be your guys' host. So tune into Youth Spotlight to watch me interview some of the most amazing people. Thank you and have a great day.
And welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the County Library District, and with me is Brad Keeler and Linda Parman, and we're going to be doing some more music here in a bit. Thank you for the song that took us to the break here just a few minutes ago. That was wonderful. Can't wait to hear some more. But I want to remind everybody about the program that's coming up at the library. It's the Great Folk Scare, American Folk Music Revival from 1958 to 65, and it will be at 10 of our libraries, and that includes Medical Lake, Otis Orchards, Oregon, North Spokane, Fairfield, Spokane Valley, Cheney, Airway Heights, Deer Park, and Moran Prairie. Different dates and times from February and through May, and the program is at no cost, so you can come in and hear this wonderful talent of these two people, and no charge. Bring the family, all ages. I couldn't imagine any age that wouldn't totally enjoy hearing this folk music.
Family friendly.
Yes, very family friendly, and you can check dates and times at scld.org, or if you're in the library, pick up one of our Engage magazines. It looks like this, and it has all the dates and times inside. In fact, somebody could follow you all over the county as a groupie. It might be me, so you'll see me in the audience there.
And we'll be doing music, as we were talking about in our first segment, music that is like rediscovered music, and then music such as the Tom Paxton song that we just did, which was written in the early 60s during the revival period. And the 1958 through 65 is sort of a high point in the revival, although obviously this music still has interest, and there's still plenty of people playing this kind of music. But with festivals and recorded music and such. Once you get into the mid-60s, the focus starts to shift in some other directions.
So you've done a lot of research on putting this program together. Was there something that you discovered that you didn't already know?
Well, there's always details, but I think one of the things that this was a good reminder for me is that there was a collection of six albums, 33 LP albums that was released by Folkways Recording in the early 1950s called the Anthology of American Folk Music.
Wow.
And this had been compiled by a fellow named Harry Smith, who collected old 78 RPs, the old fragile records that were made in the early 20th century. And he assembled this collection and presented the idea to Folkways Records to put it out as a revisitation of music that was actually being recorded and sold, let's say, in the 1920s and 30s. And the Great Depression really hurt record sales.
Sure.
And a lot of people that were making records in the 1920s really lost their ability to record commercially by the time the Great Depression rolled around. And these are a lot of these artists that were being rediscovered. So that was a good reminder. The Anthology of American Folk Music is actually a great place to look if you're interested in rootsy music.
So interesting. I hadn't considered this before, that the Great Depression would have had that kind of effect on recording and musicians and where they may have been going with their career and then ended up not being supported for various reasons.
I wish I had the numbers. I had taught a class for the Institute of Extended Learning, the Spokane Community College's Institute of Extended Learning a number of years ago, and I did a class called the Folk Roots of Country Music. And when I was doing the research for that class, I came across the numbers of how many records were being sold like in the late 1920s versus the 30s. And the decline, when you look at the numbers, is phenomenal. I mean, people were buying records hand over fist, so to speak, in the 1920s. And that market just dried up.
Wow.
The numbers are amazing. I wish I had those numbers up here. I don't have them right now.
Sure, but that's very interesting. Changes the entire landscape of music that way.
And music being so fluid. I mean, fads come and go. I mean, there's always artists or groups of artists or communities of artists that are putting some kind of new spin on music, and that displaces, previous styles. It's a constant ongoing fluctuation.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am wrong, but I always relate folk music to some sort of, not protest, but an expression of a current situation. How's that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So so then that changes, and then it came back. And was it, do you think because something similar was going on in the 50s and 60s? I mean, we know the 60s were crazy as far as a lot of things going on and being expressed through music. Do you think that's why some of these songs came back?
Well, the political aspect of the folk revival is absolutely connected to what was going on at the time. I mean, we're in the era of the Cold War. We're in the era where children are encouraged to climb under their desks during nuclear bomb drills, things like that. So, I mean, our society was kind of on edge for those reasons, but it was also on edge because of what could be referred to as the growth of materialism and consumerism and commercialization of music. The folk revival was definitely a response. The interest in the revival was definitely a response to the commercialization of music to some degree. I mean, in certain people's minds, that was the attraction.
Fascinating. It's fascinating. I wish I had a whole nother hour to spend with you to not only talk, but to listen to you play. So I will look forward to attending one of the programs that are coming up. Now, I hear a Peter, Paul, and Mary song is something that you want to do.
Sure.
Can't wait to hear that. And then while you're getting set up for that, I do want to remind everybody to stop by the library, check out Brad and Linda, fabulous talent, great programs. They're at 10 of our libraries and at no charge. I mean, what a great opportunity and a wonderful thing to share with our community, your talent and your music.
And right now you see us playing guitars, but we're going to actually be playing a number of instruments at our shows.
Oh, fabulous.
Linda's going to be playing guitar, auto harp, and mountain dulcimer.
Mountain dulcimer.
Yeah.
And washboard.
Wow. Oh, very good.
Tricky instrument.
I bet. All right.
And I'll be playing 2 different types of banjo. Guitar, I'll be playing resophonic or resonator guitar, playing old-time Delta blues, and then probably some mandolin, too.
Oh, awesome. All right. So taking us to the end of the show, this is Brad Keeler and Linda Parman on Library Out Loud.
This song is titled Gone the Rainbow. I adapted it from a Peter, Paul, and Mary version that was on the It was on the B side of their recording of the Hammer song. You know that song, If I Had a Hammer, and this is done in the macaronic style. It's got roots way back, traditional Irish, and the chorus is mostly in the language of the Irish, and then the verses are in English, and that's called the macaronic style. Shula Roo.
Awesome.
Oh goodness. Shul, shul, shula-roo, shula-rack-shack, shula-baba-coo. When I saw my Sally Babby Beal come bibble in a bush, I lorry. Here I sit on Buttermilk Hill, who could blame me, cry my fill. Every tear would turn a mill. Johnny's gone for a soldier. Shul, shul, shula-roo, shula-rack-shack, shula-baba-coo. When I saw my Sally Babby Beal come bibble in a bush, I lorry. I sold my flax, I sold my wheel, to buy my love a sword of steel, so it in battle he might wield. Johnny's gone for a soldier. Shul, shul, shula-roo, shula-rack-shack, shula-baba-coo. When I saw my Sally Babby Beal come bibble in the bush, I lorry. Oh, my baby, oh, my love, gone the rainbow, gone the dove. Your father was my only love. Johnny's gone for a soldier. Shul, shul, shula-roo, shula-rack-shack, shula-baba-coo. When I saw my Sally Babby Beal come bibble in the bush, I lorry.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here today. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the libraries.
Thank you very much.
All right. For Library Out Loud, I'm Jane Baker. We'll see you next time.
Library Out Loud is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and STCU. Go visit and explore your local library today.